Good. Thank you. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for coming today. It is September 26, 2023. This is our 2 o'clock regular legislative session agenda meeting. Let the record reflect that we have Commissioner French is online, and the other 4 commissioners are here present in the chambers. Just wanted to make sure that I saw him up there. So thank you for joining us, Commissioner French. So we are striking item number 4C on today's agenda. That will come back next week on our agenda. We will be taking 4K separately, and we'll hear about that before we vote. Are there any other items that the commissioners want to take separately? Seeing none? Okay. Then I will open it up for public forum. We do have our 15 minutes. We have 5 individuals who are scheduled to speak today. A couple are yielding their time to another person, so I hope I have this all right. So we'll go and we'll see. So I have Susan Legel. So she is, and Wade Roman is going to yield his time. So she will have 6 minutes. So if you want to come up, I'm going to open up public testimony. And we will let you start with 6 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record, and then the timer up on the corner that will start.
Thank you. My name is Susan Legel, spelled Legel. I live at 6411 South Moran Drive in Spokane County, 99223. Bonners Ferry hired a school superintendent found to be unqualified. This man had the integrity to resign. The county hired a man who did not meet the posted job requirements at Scraps, and whom the county's own HR department found to be unqualified. He in turn hired an operations manager that was found to be unqualified. They did not and do not have the integrity to resign, and you do nothing. The community service director violated her contract with a department she supervises, and she does not resign, and you do nothing. Serious behavioral and ethical issues flourish at Scraps in the current environment. These are with leadership, not the dogs. These people are dangerous, not the dogs, and you do nothing. You have known about these violations and transgressions for months in public documents, and yet you do nothing. You may think these are issues for 6 people, but you are wrong. The Underground Rainbow, a private Facebook group, has over 425 members and is growing. About 40 people spent last Sunday afternoon holding a peaceful vigil in honor and memory of the 14 dogs killed. Holding signs and memories of the dogs unnecessarily executed by Scraps' current leadership. About half the recent Nextdoor postings that are not advertisements or not postings of lost and founds are related to Scraps issues. A quick look last night showed 13 postings with 738 comments and an additional 441 reactions in the last 4 days, which is all my computer showed. People care about this. It's not 6 disgruntled employees. The vast majority of these comments express concerns about current Scraps operations and leadership and ask for the termination of and for changes in Scraps leadership and operations. There's an ever-increasing concern about these leadership and operational issues. Some people are calling for the closing or boycotting of Scraps. Many ask why the county commissioners do nothing. There are many concerns about the accuracy of information stated and posted by Scraps, including about the 14 dogs that were recently and unnecessarily killed. And people are voicing concerns about the lack of transparency at Scraps in actions and in inactions. There is evidence, there's lots of evidence and proof that we have that is the basis for these concerns, and yet you do nothing. You have known about these violations and transgressions for months, and yet you do nothing. You were elected by us, your constituents. You're supposed to represent us and do the best job possible. You've made poor and unethical hiring decisions that have led to unconscionable actions, and yet you do nothing. You have violated the trust placed in you by your constituents. You have violated your responsibilities as county commissioners, who are the ultimate people responsible for scraps, and yet you do nothing. You have been offered the opportunity to talk with people who are experts in this field, and you'll have a chance to hear from Freddie in a moment as one of those experts. And other than in these brief minutes at the county commissioner meetings, you have chosen to do nothing. And let's be real, choosing to do nothing is still a choice and an action. You've been put on notice through social media, through letters, through emails, through phone calls, through multiple testimonies for months at these meetings. You've been on notice that Scraps is not serving the public and honoring its contracts and doing its job. You have been notified that the treatment of the animal falls into abuse in many cases, in many, many ways, and yet you do nothing. We're not going to go away. Scraps' actions and your inactions only make us more committed to make sure corrective actions do happen. Now is a time for you to take corrective actions and terminate current staff leadership, and to newly hire and support qualified and experienced leadership and management, and to resurrect a no-kill open admission Scraps. You can work with local experts to create an independent advisory group to guide Scraps. You can work with local experts to bring in and have a qualified independent review of Scraps. You can take actions. You've been given notice. You have been given notice. It's past time. Don't do nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. So next we have Freddie Bomer, and I believe Tim Malik. Thank you. So you'll be.
Can I let you have my 3 minutes?
Are you Sean Mill?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Thank you.
We have.
No, that should be sufficient. Yes.
Okay. So thank you. So Freddie Bomer and Sean Mill is no, let's see, Timothy Malik is giving his 3 minutes to you, so you have 6 minutes.
Okay, that's more than enough.
So that's enough time.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, good evening, good evening. My name is Freddie B., and I am here to speak out and correct some mistruths stated by scrap representatives to the media and others as to why they recently killed a number of dogs at Scraps. I speak here not from an emotional, biased place, but primarily as an expert in the field of canine behavior assessment, modification, and rehabilitation, who has assessed and worked with 7 of the dogs killed by Scraps they claimed were aggressive and unadoptable. Before I go any further, I need to validate myself as a canine behavior specialist to support what I am about to testify to, as many who claim this have neither the experience, education, nor expertise to support their claim. I do on all accounts. Beginning in 2016 and up until today, and starting with the Northern California campfire disaster, I have donated thousands upon thousands of hours to 4 different animal shelters, to half a dozen animal rescue organizations, if not more, and to the communities I have lived within in working with and rehabilitating some of the most fearful dogs with behavior issues, and dogs specifically with aggression issues. Just of note, most aggression in dogs is fear-based. In 2019, after a year of studies and exams, I became a certified dog trainer and began my dog training business, with my specialty and expertise being working with dogs having fear-based behaviors and aggression issues. I am currently a member in good standing with the Association of Professional Dog Trainers, Pet Professionals Guild, Animal Behavior College Alumni Association, International Association of Canine Professionals, and a supporting member of the International Association of Animal Behavior Consultants, in addition to being a certified evaluator with AKC's Canine Good Citizen program. Now that I qualified myself as an expert, I would like to talk about the 7 beautiful canine souls: Max, Rudy, Rizzo, Rambo, Nezzy, Dougie, and Violet, who were among the ones killed that Scraps claimed were unadoptable, aggressive, and or could not be rehabilitated. I began assessing and working with them over 4 months ago exclusively, and I am here to testify as an expert that these dogs were absolutely adoptable and have been grossly misdiagnosed, which cost them their lives. I will be emailing all of you at a later time in the near future video evidence of my claims that backs up my support. Often when a layperson sees a dog exhibiting fearful and or fear-based aggressive behaviors, they lack the knowledge, insight, and or understanding in canine behaviors to foresee and understand their potential in being successfully rehabilitated to the point they can be adopted or rescued. I believe that some of those who made this decision or a part of making the decision were just that, laypersons. I believe fully as a well-educated and highly experienced expert that Scraps failed these 7 sweet souls: Rudy, Max, Rizzo, Rambo, Nezzy, Dougie, and Violet. Just before I close, I would like to mention, which I think is important. Many, many months ago, shortly after I became a volunteer with Scraps, I provided the administration my extensive resume as to show them I'm qualified to work with the aggressive, the fearful dogs. Regarding these 7 dogs, over the last several months, I asked to please, if they allow me, to showcase these dogs on social media and help to network them, because I reassured them that there's an excellent chance that I and the volunteers and the public could get them adopted. No, no, no was the answer I've received. I also asked to attend the assessments, the course assessment, because from what I understood about it, they only assess from the standpoint of a stranger interacting with these dogs. I asked, can I please, along with another volunteer who's been a long-term volunteer, can we please attend and show them here's how the dog acts with someone that took a little time to earn their trust? Answer was no, no, no. And that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. So then I do have Sean Mill, if you would like to speak.
My entire life.
If you could just state your name and address for the record, and then we'll start your 3 minutes.
Sean Mills, 14721 East Rockwell Avenue, Spokane, Washington, 99216.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me speak. We adopted one of our dogs from Scraps. We adopted another one from Spokanimal that had been brought back 3 or 4 times. Atlas, he's a miniature pinscher that's about 14 pounds, and he thinks he's about 165 pounds. And it took a lot to get Atlas. I actually looked at my wife and was starting to kind of go, and she's like, no, I don't know why these people should be able to draw judgment on these dogs when people want to adopt them and just without answering to anybody be able to euthanize these dogs. I'm going to look in to see if we can take one of these dogs or 2 of these dogs and just board them to maybe stop them from getting killed. And I'm sure some of you have pets or did growing up, and I mean, what they're doing out there is wrong, and we need your help to stand up and do something about it. And we were at the one last night, and this is wrong, and I don't know what you can do or how you can do it, but please do something to stop these people from killing these dogs. It's wrong for no other reason than it's just wrong. A gentleman like Freddie should be running that place. I don't know how somebody with an aviation degree is running a pet shelter, but it should be somebody like the gentleman that just spoke, and somebody that knows dogs and cares about dogs and loves dogs. I should have brought this picture of myself, my dad, and Gypsy. I looked to be about 8 months old, laying on my dad's lap with Gypsy, our dog, who was a puppy. And I've had dogs my entire life, and what they're doing out there is wrong. Please help us. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. So those are all the individuals that I have set to testify, and we are at our 15 minutes. So I will look to close the, I apologize, before I close the public forum, Mr. Simmons.
If it pleases the commissioners and the chair, I'd like to read some prepared remarks I have that I think will be beneficial for our community.
Please.
We've heard a number of statements made in recent months regarding scraps that have been both inaccurate and misleading. Some in open public forum in front of the commissioners as today, some received via email. I want to ensure the community that Spokane County and its Spokane County Regional Animal Protection Service, SCRAPS, are committed to the highest standards of care and ethical treatment of animals at SCRAPS, while also protecting public safety, which is an important underline there. Unfortunately, during this past couple of months, we've had a couple of city council members who have allowed these incorrect narratives to be perpetuated at their city council meetings. Despite multiple meetings with these council members to provide them with actual facts surrounding scraps, they have yet to acknowledge a different narrative than what they're hearing from a small group of community activists. In doing so, they are harming the very animals they claim to be wanting to help by perpetuating unfounded allegations and irresponsibly harming scraps' reputation in the community. This is disappointing, as we expect our elected officials to be duty-bound to make sure they're using factual information in their evaluation and decision-making process. Despite numerous invitations to those two city council members to visit our scraps animal control operations and see our services in action, they still have not taken us up on that offer. Public safety is an integral part of our animal control and protection services, and our decisions clearly took into consideration safety for our community members and their pets. And it's important to recognize that SCRAPS is the only entity that's charged with animal control and protection. SCRAPS is different from animal shelters. They're different from rescue agencies. One important area that needs to be addressed is an incorrect narrative that SCRAPS is not partnering with animal shelters and rescues in our region. That couldn't be farther from the truth. SCRAPS has regular interaction and partnership meetings with animal shelters and reputable animal rescues in our region. All have visited our facilities over the past months. All have observed the dogs that were recently euthanized and other similar dogs in our facility. All have declined to accept transfer of these dogs into their custody. They reached the same conclusion that our SCRAPS team did. These dogs are an untreatable threat to humans and other animals. Untreatable threat to humans and other animals. Let me be clear what that means for members in our community. These are not dogs who you would want in your home, with your children, around your other pets, in vicinity of your neighbors. You wouldn't want them in your neighborhood or in the community. We greatly appreciate the partnerships with these organizations that SCRAPS leadership has worked hard over the past year to reestablish. We've also received feedback from a number of veterinarians in our community supporting our decision, as many times when they receive an animal that exhibits these traits, aggressive dogs, they have to shut down their entire clinic and tell all their staff to leave so that they can do any sort of treatment on these animals. It's tough choices that we have to make, but we're making the tough choices. Another important item for clarity is that when SCRAPS is at capacity, which does happen from time to time, SCRAPS does have to turn away strays who are not injured, sick, or dangerous. In these instances, we employ a community sheltering model, where we ask the finder to help care for the animal if they're willing to, and SCRAPS will offer and provide the necessary food and equipment to the finder until SCRAPS have sufficient capacity to house the stray. SCRAPS endeavors to save as many surrendered and impounded animals as possible, and annually reunites and rehomes thousands of animals in our community. The numbers I saw just this last week, the last 12 months, nearly 7,000 animals. In fact, for dogs alone, we have a 93% placement rate. That's nearly 900 dogs just since the beginning of 2023. The decision to humanely euthanize animals deemed to be an untreatable threat to humans and animals is a difficult one, made in consultation with our licensed veterinarian and trained behavioral specialists on staff. To be clear, humane euthanasia is always a last resort and never employed due to capacity issues. Despite some of the narratives that are out there, never employed due to capacity issues. You can learn more about our decision-making and read recently conducted assessments on the SCRAPS page of the Spokane County website. I also want to reiterate and assure the public that SCRAPS is open for business, to please come and adopt a pet. Our hours of operations that we're open to the public are noon to 7, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. We are closed to the public on Thursdays and Sundays so we can do other operational needs that are necessary. However, if you do have a pet that you've lost and you want to reclaim, you can schedule a time to come and do an appointment, and reclaim your pet. We ask the community's continued help in adopting, donating, and volunteering at SCRAPS. And please remember, help our community by spaying and neutering your pet and microchip your pet in the event they become lost so that they can be quickly reunited with you. I hope this information provides additional clarity to those in the community who are open-minded but have questions around SCRAP's role in our community, which reunites lost pets with their owners, which safely adopts animals into homes that are seeking a pet, and also keep the public safe from dogs that are an untreatable threat to humans and animals. I want to thank the Spokane County Commissioners for your support of our SCRAPS employees and our committed volunteers in carrying out their duties and responsibilities as an animal control and protection agency in Spokane County, and for ensuring our community remains safe. And I also want to state for the record, too, that any statements around our director of SCRAPS not meeting the qualifications is patently false. The director meets the qualifications, did so from the very beginning. That is a narrative that is incorrect. It needs to stop. Thank you, Commissioners.
Okay. So with that, then, I will close the open public forum portion of this meeting. Again, we are striking item number 4C from today's agenda and taking separately 4K. Next up is 2A, which is a proclamation. Justin Johnson and Brian Nichols, if you want to come up, and then we'll read the proclamation. Okay. Yeah, go ahead and read it.
Madam Chair, I would like to read this proclamation in the form of a motion. And this is in the matter of proclaiming the month of October 2023 as National Disability Employment Awareness Month in Spokane County. Whereas October 2023 marks the 78th anniversary of National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and whereas the purpose of National Disability Employment Awareness Month is to educate about disability employment issues and celebrate the many and varied contributions of America's workers with disabilities. And whereas workplaces welcoming of the talent of all people, including people with disabilities, are a critical part of our efforts to build an inclusive community and strong economy. And whereas activities during this month will reinforce the value and talent people with disabilities add to our workplaces and communities and affirm Spokane County's commitment to an inclusive community that increases access to equity for all, including individuals with disabilities. Therefore, be it resolved that the Spokane County recognizes and commemorates the 78th anniversary of National Disability Employment Awareness Month, and be it resolved that the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy, Washington State Developmental Disabilities Administration, and Spokane County call upon employers, schools, and other community organizations to advance the important message that people with disabilities add value and talent to our workplaces, communities, and be it further resolved that Spokane County pledges throughout the year to continue to support, encourage, and enhance recruitment, hiring, retention, and advancement of individuals with disabilities and work to pursue the goals of opportunity, full participation, economic self-sufficiency, and independent living for people with disabilities. Now, therefore, we, the Board of Spokane County Commissioners, on behalf of the citizens of Spokane County, do hereby proclaim October 2023 as National Disability Employment Awareness Month in recognition of the valuable contributions of workers with disabilities throughout Spokane County. Signed, the Board of County Commissioners, Spokane County, Washington.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion.
Aye.
Thank you, Commissioner French. The motion passes unanimously. Would you like to speak to it, and then we'll get a picture with you up here?
Hi, my name is Erin Carden. I am the co-chair of the Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board here in Spokane County. And I want to, on behalf of the board, thank our county commissioners for this proclamation. And I also want to say that personally, I'm the parent of an adult child living with a developmental disability who receives DVR services and has received those services. And this month is his first year of full employment at Safeway, and it just means the world to him, and it is such an important step on his path to self-sufficiency and full participation in our community. So thank you on behalf of the board, and thank you personally.
Hi, thanks for having us here, and thank you for the proclamation. I'm Brian Nichols. I'm the Developmental Disabilities Program Manager for Spokane County Community Services. I am very appreciative of all the support the commissioners have given our program over the years. There have been a number of resolutions passed in my history here with the county, and it's nice to be back here again. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the importance of supported employment for folks with developmental disabilities and other disabilities. People that we support with our program, they work in just about every facet of our community in typical community jobs. They earn millions of dollars a year in doing so. That money goes back into the community in terms of purchases they make, in terms of taxes they pay, in terms of reduced reliance on unearned benefits such as SSI, food stamps, rent subsidies. It's a win-win situation all around. In addition to the money, people really benefit from having a job. It's what makes all of us who are working have some sense of purpose in life. And it's amazing when we see new people get jobs and they've got a paycheck. It's just, they light up. And they also make friends in the workplace. They develop relationships. It gives them the means to enjoy being part of our community. I could go on, but I won't. Thank you again for your support.
Justin, do you want to speak to it?
Only Justin Johnson. I'm the director of Spokane County Community Services Department. Just to thank the commissioners for your continued support and the continued investment in our community around individuals with disability support services. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we'll have you guys come up and we'll get a picture together. Okay, so next we're going to take item number 4K to have a little presentation. Ashley Cameron, if you would like to come down. Callan, sorry. I should know better than that, but yes, We all mix the two of you up all the time. It's like, yeah.
Ashley Callan, I'm the
Thank you.
Superior Court Administrator. I want to thank you all for inviting me here today to discuss a really exciting project that the court would like to do and would like you to approve. As you know, the board approved a 13th judge for Spokane Superior Court, and we are very grateful for that. And we have been doing things the way that we have been doing them currently for the last 25 years. And when I mean the way that we are doing things, I mean how we assign our workload. Which cases get heard by a judge, which ones get heard by a court commissioner, and which cases get assigned at all versus just handled through our ex parte department. And without getting too much in the weeds of how courts work, it has worked for Spokane Superior Court because that's what we know, and that's what we created 25 years ago. With this additional resource, it seemed to be a good time to take a step back and bring in somebody that is an expert on how courts across the state and across the U.S. allocate our resources. So I reached out to National Center for State Courts. They are the expert in state courts, which we are, and they are willing to come out and spend 3 days on site with our court, talking to judges, commissioners, myself, as well as other stakeholders in legal community, both prosecutors and defense attorneys, as well as civil litigators and anyone else who wants to share their ideas about how our courts work. We had hoped to apply for a grant, but the grant period starts in November. And as you know, that the new judge has been approved to start in the beginning of 2024. So we didn't think that it was wise to wait until nearly the end of the year when things get very chaotic. And so we have funding that is provided for the state to improve our trial courts, the TCIA account. Those are funds that Superior Court, District Court control, and that is what we would like to use to contract with these consultants to ultimately provide the court a report on ways that we could improve our workload and be as efficient and effective as we can. So I am here today requesting that the board approve that contract so that this process can begin. I still am hopeful that it will be done by the end of 2023 so that we have some direction for when the new judge starts. They also, as the board is aware, space is always tricky. They are going to help us look at ways that we can do our work in the short term without a large courtroom. How can we best utilize this 13th judge, knowing that we don't have a large trial courtroom to plug them into? So unless the board has questions, and it looks like Commissioner French does.
Commissioner French.
Yes, thank you. I was just curious, when they do come in and do their assessment, will they also be interviewing other stakeholders like the Board of County Commissioners with regard to suggestions we might be able to offer?
Yes, if the board would like to speak with them, I'm sure that they would love to.
Count me in.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Any other comments? So I'll just say I'm excited about this. I think, Ashley, you and I have talked that I've been going around the state and talking to other counties and what is happening in their superior courts, and everyone does it a little bit differently. Nobody does it the same. And so I think this is a great opportunity for us to look at this and do this. And so I guess I would just be wanting to make sure that we get a copy of the report as well.
Excellent, yes.
Once it's done.
Of course.
So, very good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, I don't believe we're taking anything else separately, so I will look to my fellow commissioners.
Madam Chair, I move to approve items 3 and 4, including all sub-items with the exception of item 4C as presented on today's agenda.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second for items number 3, 4, excluding 4C, and just 3 and 4, and all sub-items excluding 4C. Commissioner Jordan.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to briefly speak to item 4D. I just wanted to say for the record that the Race Redeem Foundation, we heard a presentation from them in our board briefing meetings. This is an example of turning something that's extremely painful, the unfortunate death of a young man at the hands of addiction, into purpose and something positive that helps others. As we all know, fentanyl is devastating families all over our country. We know the challenges in Spokane. I also read recently that the Idaho Department of Health reported fentanyl overdoses in that state had tripled in the last 3 years. So this is a problem that really knows no borders, and I believe we need to use all the tools at our disposal, and education and training that's provided for in this proposal is one of those tools. So I commend the foundation's efforts to raise awareness about this issue, educate young people, and I'm particularly excited about the Narcan and education training found in this proposal. As we all know, Narcan saves lives. We've seen that with our own staff here at the county. So today we're approving a trial 1-year investment with an option to renew for additional years after a report back from the foundation. And I just wanted to state that when we come back in a year and see how it's gone, I'll be looking for a significant expansion in the number of people who have been trained in Narcan. So I just want to encourage the foundation to go big in that regard. And I'll also be looking to see that the Addiction Help Finder website is fully and regularly updated with all of the Spokane County treatment providers that are listed in the Department of Health's Behavioral Health Agencies directory. And I trust that that will be done with this additional support. I also wanted to say I understand this request for funding is kind of a carryover from the process used for American Rescue Plan applications. Going forward, I'm hoping for a comprehensive process for looking at mental health sales tax investments, and I know that we're going to be having those conversations in the next few weeks. So I look forward to that, and we'll be supporting this item today. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Waldron.
I'm also going to be supporting this item. The more I read and stories and information, the Narcan training is just more and more important, that we all in our community can get access to that training. And so I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to expand, that this foundation will be able to do that work in the community. So I just will, the one thing that I would prefer is being able to approve the actual contract, but I know that this is following the same process as the other contracts with the other agencies that received funding last year related to ARPA applications that the board chose to use mental health sales tax because it was appropriate in those cases. So Chair Cuney, will you let me look at the contract before we sign it, before you sign it, and just make sure that those goals and those measures that you're talking about, Commissioner Jordan, that they're clear in there so that in a year we'll know what we're measuring in terms of what success looks like for this organization.
So it is not voted, I mean, the resolution is what is being voted on, and the contract will match the resolution. So that's what I can guarantee you to be, unless all the commissioners want to agree to the, I will be ensuring that what is in this resolution is in the contract. So, and I will let you, certainly have you take an opportunity to look at that. I will not be modifying the contract because I would take a vote of the board.
The last meeting that we had with Mr. McMorris, some of those measurable outcomes were still TBD. And so that's where I don't know if those were specific in the resolution, like what the increase in number of trainings that will occur, over the course of a year. So that was just, those were the things that were briefly discussed that were going to be more fine-tuned in the contract as I understood it.
So did we lose Commissioner French? Oh.
No, I'm fine with the resolution moving forward and do plan on supporting it. And appreciate the chair and staff's work with the foundation to bring it forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't really have any comments. I don't know why we're beating up on this. This seems like a great organization that's getting great information out to the community and great resources. As far as Narcan, I'm proud to support it as is. I made that clear a couple weeks ago, so I don't need to talk myself into it or come up with ways to justify it to myself. It's a great program.
So, and I'll be supporting it as well. And the same process that we did go through was that the contracts were based on the resolutions that came through. I know that there was the discussion of increased training, and it will be coming back before us. So I'm, again, happy to have you look at the contract, but I will not be modifying the contract unless it's a vote of the commissioners. And at this point, if it passes here, then I won't, the contract won't be modified by me. I'll be signing the contract based on the information that we've given our staff.
All right, I appreciate the opportunity to review it. Thank you.
Okay, with that, I have a motion and a second for items 3 and 4 with all sub-items excluding 4C on today's agenda. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes unanimously. That will then take us to item number 5, which are public hearing items. The first one is to consider the adoption of the 2023 amended annual road construction program for Spokane County. And we have our county road engineer, Matt Zarecor.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Matt Zarecor, Spokane County Public Works. Thank you for the opportunity to come and talk to you today. This is our legislatively required amended update to our construction plan for the roads, and just have a brief presentation for you, kind of hitting the highlights of that program. Next slide, please. Oh, this is the actual amended. Do you happen to have the presentation? In the meantime, I'll just start talking through it a little bit. The first slide is basically a breakdown of where we spend our money. And it's broken into categories: urban construction, rural construction, pathways, traffic, bridge, and stormwater. And the bulk of that money, as you might imagine, is spent on the roadways. $7 million out of $29 million goes to urban projects. Yeah, thank you, Ron. And $12.5 million is rural in nature. And a big portion of that this year in particular is because the Bigelow Gulch project, a very large road project we have going on, is considered rural because of its location outside the urban area. In addition, we spend $1 million on pathways this year, a little over $1 million on traffic safety, a little over $4 million on bridge construction, the bulk of that being the Euclid Road Bridge project. And finally, stormwater is $2.8 million this year, and that was primarily the project on the West Plains that's helping neighborhoods that are having a lot of flooding issues. Next slide. So where does our money come from? This, you can see the county contribution out of that $29 million is a little over $7 million. And we'd always like to highlight this and kind of brag on our people that go out and get our grants for us a little bit. So for every county dollar that goes into these projects, there's $4.13 that come from state and federal sources. So that's really a tribute to our folks that go out and get our grants for us. They're doing a fantastic job. Next slide. This is a highlight of our major projects that we accomplished this year. The first one being Bigelow Gulch. This is the final phase of Bigelow Gulch. We're very excited to be getting that corridor put together. In order not to inconvenience the public too much, and just because it made sense for this project, all the work this year is offline, which means we aren't impacting the traffic and the citizens this year with the project, and next year will be when we bring it online, and that will be disruptive, but instead of 2 years, it'll just be 1 year inconvenience for the public. So that one's going well. The next one's 57th Avenue Preservation, and this one's pretty much done. They're waiting for striping. It can't be raining while we're striping. Other than that, it's substantially complete, so we're getting close on that one. Lincoln Road is similar. It is all but done. Again, just signing and striping, similar to Columbia. And all those projects, if you get a chance to drive them, they're beautiful. They did a great job, great contractors, great quality control on our end, and they really came out well. And finally, Euclid Road Bridge, they're getting there on that one. They're working on the deck on that bridge, which is the driving surface on top. So they're getting very close. And they've also been taking steps to make sure we can get it open this year. They plan to base in the asphalt on each side of the bridge and even ahead of the approach slabs, just to make sure that we don't miss our paving windows. The asphalt plant's shut down here before too long, and they can be the thing that keeps you from opening a bridge if you're not careful. So that's looking good. And finally, the West Terrace Capital Improvement Project. And again, I'd like to thank the board for their allocation of ARP funds to that, so we can help out that neighborhood that was really suffering from flooding. And that's the highlight of the major projects. And I'm happy to answer any questions the board might have and answer any testimony questions that may come up.
Commissioner French, I see your hand is raised.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Well, and I just want to commend Matt and his whole crew for all of the great work that they do. We've got excellent roads, especially when compared to other counties in the state, and that's because of the quality of our leadership and also the quality of the folks that are out there taking care of the roads out in with all the various road crews. Bigelow Gulch was actually a project that was underway when I joined the board, and glad to see that we finally have coming to a close on that one. I guess the north-south corridor is the only one left, and then I can go peacefully off into the horizon. But thanks, Matt, for all the work you and your crew do an excellent job, and especially for the grant writers, leveraging this kind of money. I don't know of any other county in the state that gets the kind of performance that our crews do. So thanks for your work.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you. Okay, so this is a public hearing item, so I will open up for public testimony on our 2023 amended annual road construction program. Not seeing anyone want to come up and testify. Second call for anyone wishing to testify on the annual road construction program. See no one online, no one in the audience. Third and final call.
And of which road?
This is just what he just briefed on. So with that, seeing no other testimony, I will close the public meeting or public hearing item and look to my fellow commissioners.
Madam Chair, move to approve public hearing item number 5A in a matter of adopting the 2023 amended annual road construction program for Spokane County as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. That will take us to item number 5B on today's agenda, which is to consider the vacation of a portion of Big Rock Road, County Engineers Road File Number 497 for the Spokane County Public Works Department. I believe Matt Zarek, are you going to speak to this?
Thanks again, Commissioner. And this one, I'm gonna brief today. We are going to recommend continuance of this one until October 3rd, when the proponent of the vacation could be available to also testify regarding it. You can see up on the map here, this is just a little bit southeast of downtown Spokane, up on the backside of the South Hill, and it's Big Rock Road is the name of the roadway, or the road right-of-way, and it's currently unopened. It challenges or moves across some very challenging topography, and we're really not even sure if it's buildable the way it currently exists. Our one challenge is it is an east-west option in an area with very few east-west options. So we look forward to talking to the proponent more about possible options, but in its current configuration, we feel like it's responsible to keep right-of-way at this time in some fashion. We are open to the idea of a vacation and change at some future point, but in terms of vacating this right-of-way, currently Public Works does not support that. So that's our briefing. Happy to respond to any testimony you might hear or any questions you might have.
Okay, so this is a public hearing item. So do I open the public hearing or do I wait?
Yeah, recommendation of council was to go ahead and take any public testimony today, and then we'll continue and also take public testimony at the next October 3rd continuation.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So then we will open public testimony for item 4B, which is to consider the vacation of a portion of Big Rock Road. So it appears we have someone who would like to testify. So, sir, if I could have you state your name and address for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes.
Okay, I'm Bob Milholland. My address is Spokane Valley at 12912 East McDonald, apartment 218. But I'm negotiating to potentially buy or buy a property to live in up there on the Big Rock Road. And I know this area real well from my younger days, and I know that it would be a big shortcut, so to speak, for most of the people that live in that area. There's hundreds of homes in that area, 10-acre plots mostly, but still there's a lot of people. And the thing is, if this was allowed, as it was in the beginning back in 1909, you would save about 20 miles, because right now to get out there, you have to go from the valley over to Valley Ford Town, and then back down to Palouse Highway, and then back up Sharon Road, and until you get to Stevens Road. So this, if we were to continue the Big Rock Road, it would join into the Stevens Road, which then you could continue the Stevens Road right past Big Rock and into the valley. And it would save 20 miles of driving for all these people that live over there on the south side of Tower Mountain. And so that's basically why I would suggest that we keep this a possibility of doing that road in the future, because it could, as we know, climate pollution, 20 miles saved of driving your car will help a little bit on the climate control, but even more so is its convenience, a lot more convenient, and it just would improve the property values and everything if this road was allowed to come to pass sometime in the future. And I think that's about all I have. So
Very
just
good.
sit down. And
Yes, no, thank you very much. I appreciate the public testimony. I'm going to have, Gina, will you have him fill out? So we'll have you fill out one of our yellow forms, and we'll have someone help you to do that, just so we have a record of the public testimony.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to testify on the vacation of a portion of Big Rock Road? Third and final call for anyone wishing to testify? Seeing none online and no one else here, I will I will continue the public testimony until October 3rd. I was potentially going to be gone on the 3rd, but that trip with the potential government shutdown has been canceled. So I will be here on the 3rd, and I know the person who was seeking this vacation will be here as well. If not, we will continue it again. Thank you. Just to alleviate the confusion, because I know there was talk of the 10th versus the 3rd. So we will put it on the agenda for next week. We'll continue it till next week, and if we need to, we'll continue it one more week. So then, Do we need, I don't think we need a motion. Do we need a motion to continue it? Okay.
Since the board is here and available.
Very good.
Madam Chair, I will move that we continue public hearing item number 5B until October 3rd, at which time we will also allow public testimony at that date and reserve that date for action.
Very good.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes that we will continue that until October 3rd. So then that takes us to item number 5C, which is an ordinance of the Board of County Commissioners of Spokane County, Washington, amending Spokane County Code Chapters 1, 3, 6, 7, 8.03, 8.03A, 9, 11, 12, and 13 to reflect the merger of the Environmental Services Department into the Public Works Department, to adopt the changes to the sanitary sewer code pertaining to fats, oils, and grease, and to make other clerical edits. Lewis.
Good afternoon. I'm Lewis Graff, the wastewater system administrator here at the county. And yeah, we have some exciting code changes. A lot of different topics, roughly 9 different chapters that a lot of this is housekeeping related to the merger of the Environmental Services Department and the Public Works Department a year or so ago. So a lot of this is just deleting the old position of the Environmental Services Director and replacing a lot of those duties with the Public Works Director. And then also there is a section that clarifies the duties between the Public Works Director and the county engineer. And so, like I say, a lot of these are housekeeping items, clerical items, but there are also some fairly significant changes to the fats, oils, and grease section, talking about grease control devices, and Joshua will come up here in a second after I'm done. So again, a lot of these are clerical. The one section in our sewer code that is a little more substantial, right now the director approval is needed for approving up to 3 houses to be on a shared private sewer line. And it's gotten to be fairly common with duplexes and ADUs that we see that pretty often. So we would propose that we would only need the director's approval for 4 or more either ERUs or properties on a shared private sewer line. And again, there's roughly 9 chapters that are being changed, and I don't think we want to read every one of them, but I'm certainly open to do that if anybody would like to hear that. And if no other questions, I would probably hand it over to Joshua to talk about some of the grease control device changes. So, thank you.
I'm not seeing anyone that has any comments, so Joshua.
Hello, my name is Joshua Villa. I'm a project manager and pre-treatment coordinator here for the Public Works Department. Today, with some of the codes where changes we're going over for 803 regarding fat, oil, and grease management. It's a glamorous topic that most people don't pay attention to, but we do. So what we're doing is we're adding more specificity to the type of grease control devices that exist and can be used and implemented here in Spokane County, as well as providing a better maintenance guideline for businesses that they can follow, as well as providing exemptions for businesses that may not meet the stringent requirements. And let's see. So also just to let you know, just fat, oil, grease, you can go ahead and turn to the next slide if you wouldn't mind. And so these are just types of grease control devices. We have some that pertain to food services environments, some that pertain to commercial environments like automotive facilities, and then it allows for maintenance requirements for each one of those devices. Okay, and go ahead into the next slide. And then so these changes are being coordinated with the city of Spokane. They are adopting the same codes that we are putting forth today. Spokane Valley doesn't have any changes to their code as we are the provider for sewer. These same code changes have been coordinated with the Spokane Regional Health District as they have a role to play in some of the inspections, as well as pulled together business communities that service these grease control devices, brought them into this conversation so that way when this code does go live, there'll be businesses that are able to understand these ordinance changes as well as meet the needs of our business community. Additionally, worked with concrete precast installers, so we've got those up to date. And that's it. That'll be it for my fat oil grease. Thank you.
Thank you. So is there any questions for Joshua? I'm not seeing any. Okay, so this is a public hearing item, so we will take public testimony. First call for anyone wishing to testify on item number 5C regarding the ordinance changes. Second call. Seeing no one in the audience or no one online. Third and final call. With that, then I will close the public testimony and look to my fellow commissioners.
Madam Chair, I move to approve public hearing item number 5C as presented by staff.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Commissioner French.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a question with regard to the private sewer line and the number of units that we have that are allowed to be connected to a private sewer line without director approval. I don't know whether the staff person is still available for that. But could you help me understand why there is a limit at 4? If it's a private sewer line, what is our interest in terms of ensuring how many hookups are to a private line?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the exact history was behind that, Commissioner. I believe the intent was to limit the exposure or risk for those private, the private houses that are connected and sharing a line. If you've got 3, it's a little easier to identify, where a problem might be in the line and easier to identify, the shared responsibility. A lot of the easements would have accompanying shared use agreements between these properties. And so, from point A to B, it's spelled out, which lots would be responsible for different areas of the sewer line. So I believe it was probably just to, kind of protect the property owners and not have, too many cooks in the kitchen if there was a problem with the sewer lines. But again, now that there's much more, permits coming through with ADUs and duplexes, it's pretty easy to get up to, a shared use of 3 or more. So.
Well, and that's you speak to my concern with the city now, implementing their change in their zoning ordinances to allow for increased density. One of the things that we're finding is that sewer lines and water lines weren't adequately sized for increasing the density in some of these neighborhoods and stuff. And so as I look at this continued effort to increase density, especially in, HOAs or other private developments and stuff, I just wonder, is 3 too small? Is that too limiting? Should it be a larger number? Because if it's a private sewer line, any congestion or any clogging in that sewer line is going to be the responsibility of either the HOA or the property owners that adjoin it, not necessarily the county. So we're interested in what happens when you enter the county line, not what happens in the private sector. So I'm just a little challenged in terms of trying to find out, what's the magic number about 3 as opposed to 6 or 10 or none at all, quite frankly.
Yeah, the proposed code change is that 4 or more could be approved by the Public Works Director, but staff could approve up to 3. Where now it's.
But there's no
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, the challenge is that there's no predictability in that. Then you're left to the whim of whoever the public works director is with regard to whether it will be approved or not and stuff. So, one of the things you want to try and have it with your codes is they're predictable. And so, just curious. I mean, if there's some kind of logical reason, just looking for it. That's all.
Yeah, hydraulically, at least a new plan that would come in today, where there would be a shared use line like that, it would generally be a 6-inch or more, which it's more than adequate to serve, the 4 to 5 to, depending on the slope, you could serve 20 homes, off of a 6-inch line. But so yeah, every condition is a little different.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I have a question. So currently it's one.
One is the
And then-
typical, and then up to 3 can be approved by the director. So our code doesn't allow for more than 3 to be on a shared line currently.
Okay, so now we're allowing for more than 3 to be on a shared line of 4, but just 4 and over would have to go to the director.
Correct, yes.
Does that help clarify, Commissioner French?
Well, actually, what you've done, Madam Chair, is you've identified the problem. And I'll give you an example. With HOAs, if you've got a residential HOA that's being developed, and let's say you've got 20 homes in there, and the developer is building the sewer and water lines as private lines, the developer or the HOA ultimately is going to be responsible for that sewer line for the last house on the line all the way to where it connects to the county. So if the developer or the HOA is responsible for that, why are we putting a limit on it? Why are we making it more expensive for housing by imposing restrictions that, quite frankly, won't impact the county financially? They impact the HOA or they impact the developer, but not the county. So if it's not going to have an impact on the county, why are we increasing the restrictions? That's what I'm trying to do, is make sure that affordable housing is, in fact, continues to be affordable or can achieve to be affordable by removing restrictions or removing obstacles that, quite frankly, don't really accomplish anything in terms of an ultimate goal of protecting the county system. So that's, and I've heard already from a number of developers that, are struggling with privatizing the roads and also privatizing, utilities and stuff. So it becomes a little bit of a challenge. So just looking for any obstacles that could stand in the way of affordable housing and trying to eliminate them. And again, here, I'm not sure what we're trying to accomplish here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kyle, our Public Works Director.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Commissioner French. I'd just like to add a little bit of clarity to the context here, because we are talking about a couple of different things here. When we are talking about a new development that's platted with a private sewer line, that's not the same context that we're talking about right here. This is more in that rural area where we're seeing shared lots as we would a shared driveway along those lines, and just making sure that the maintenance agreements protects the homeowners further upstream on the lines. Well, developer and a private development is not affected by this code right here. There are certainly some issues right now, particularly in the areas adjacent to the city of Spokane with regards to private sewer and private water requirements. Those are actually coming from the city of Spokane, not Spokane County, although we certainly have considerations with regards to private roads. But I just wanted to clarify that really what we're doing here with this proposed change is loosening restrictions and still allowing some discretion, which just is going to require review by an engineer and making sure maintenance agreements are in place. So we're actually, frankly, making everything easier for ADU expansion and additional lots and additional density.
Thank you for the clarification. Any other comments? Seeing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. So we did continue, I believe, our meeting from this morning. So there's a couple items that we still have to take. So let me get to that one. So I did have a miscellaneous that I was going to do as a proclamation that it's Domestic Violence Action Month in October. If everybody's willing to, the head nod to move that forward, then we'll put that on the agenda for next week. Okay, so we'll have that, which then Commissioner Kearns, going back to this morning's agenda is item 3B.
Yeah, I just think as we approach the vote for Measure 1, that I think it would be appropriate that the county pass a resolution stating our support for Measure 1. There's been some other municipalities that are looking at passing resolutions both for and against this as well, and I think it would be appropriate, since we were the one that put it on the ballot, that we officially state our support for Measure 1.
Okay. And any other comments? Otherwise, I'll go. So, Mr. Anderson, so what would that look like? Because I don't know, since I've been here, we've done that, but we haven't had a measure like this, so.
So the board has done this and has at one point taken collective action to express support, and one time taken collective action to express opposition. This was back in 2007 and 2008. The opposition was to the Spokane County 0.1% sales and use tax for emergency communication systems, and then the, or I'm sorry, oh no, it looks like it may have been support. Anyway, here too, I have examples to see this. We'd be following the same resolution, whichever way the board wanted to go. There are some fairly stringent legal requirements in order to do this and set this up correctly. It would need to be noticed, and then because it is a ballot measure up for election, the comment that is accepted and the testimony that is provided by both public and the board needs to be balanced between opposing and pro comments. So you need to either decide on an amount of time and then fit everybody kind of into that, or figure out how many people are there and then provide both sides the same amount of time, regardless of whether there are more people present for one or the other. So the issue that has to be equal is the amount of time that's given to each side. And then beyond that, the board certainly has the option of passing a resolution in support or in opposition to the ballot measure based on a majority vote.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Jordan?
Can I just add a question? It's my understanding that there's a law against use of public resources generally, right, to support or oppose. There's an exception that allows for a legislative body to take a vote. Are there limitations then on staff time outside of the context of that vote, whether it's press releases after the fact, preparation, anything along those lines that limit staff time?
There is not anything explicit to this exception. As you point out, this is an exception to that general rule that county and government resources cannot be used to, promote or oppose a ballot measure. And so I think, I'm happy to answer specific circumstance questions, but that's really what it would be is what are the circumstances, what is being done, and then, but generally speaking, the overall PDC guidelines would apply, and I would generally advise caution as far as using resources around this beyond just the forum that is provided for the exception to that general rule.
Would we be able to check with MRSC to see if that's?
Which part?
Well, it just seems like if a body is taking a position, that there would be the ability to do a press release. I don't know, just on what the action of the board was.
So I guess let me clarify. I would prefer to provide legal advice on those issues outside of a public forum.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner French?
Well, I would assume that if there is a restriction with regard to the use of staff time to prepare public press releases or anything like that, that would apply to both the pro and the con, and not just the pro.
Yeah, correct, Commissioner French. That applies across the board.
Okay. So it's just up for discussion as an item. That is there. I guess we can take it up next week with further discussion.
Yeah, certainly. Certainly, if the board wants to put this on the agenda for discussion or wants to put it on the agenda to move it forward, I think the first step would be setting a notice for a date for a public hearing, and then moving forward from there.
Would it just be 1 week notice required?
Correct.
To do it?
1 week or 10 days?
So there is not a specific time that is set here for this as far as the notice. And so my general advice is that 1 week is a safe and prudent amount of time, because there is not a specific notice provision applied.
Okay. So maybe if we bring it up next week, it gives you time to look at the issues.
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner French?
Well, and I would be in support of having a hearing predicated upon being able to structure it. I've been involved in these hearings in the past without the structure, and it can get very laborious, and you'll hear the same message over and over again. So if we can structure it so that, there's so much time for the pro, so much time for the con, and then we take a vote, that would be much more effective use of our time as well as public debate. So look forward to seeing what we come up with regard to the structure. Thank you.
Commissioner Jordan?
I remember when we were going through some code changes earlier in the year about agendas and different things, we talked about public hearings that might have a larger amount of public interest, potentially being later in the day, that might be more accessible. So I just raised that as a question as we're looking at a format for a hearing, thinking about making it accessible in that way.
Very good. So it will be up for further discussion next week, since this is kind of the first blush hearing about it. So we'll make sure it's on the agenda for Monday or Tuesday. Hopefully, Monday's budget stuff, we could always try for Monday, but if it doesn't work, then we can move it into Tuesday.
Yep, we'll take a look at agendas as they're being developed for next week and figure out which one has the time on it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Are there any other miscellaneous items to come before the board? Okay, Mr. Simmons or Mr. Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have one executive session item under pending potential litigation pursuant to RCW 4230-110-1I. This matter will involve the board, myself, CEO Scott Simmons, Chris Davis from my office, Jesse Ferrari from Scraps, and Kat Nichols, Senior Director, and Pat Bell as well.
Okay, and how long do you think this will take?
I would say 30 minutes.
And any decisions to be made?
Yes, potentially one.
Okay. So we will come back at the end of 30 minutes and either extend our time, or we'll be done at that point and potentially make a decision. So thank you. It is 3:22, so we'll say 3:25 is when we'll go into executive session for 30 minutes. So we'll be in until 3:55, and then at that point, we will either extend or come out of executive session at that point. So thank you all, and we will be back at 3:55.